What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Football Boot Hour with me, James, here on the Boot Wizard channel, and my co-host, Andrew of the Lockhart Boot blog. This week, we're going to be talking about something, I don't know whether it's controversial or not, but it's going to be all linked back to the Nike release this week and last Nike release. So we'll get into that when we talk about those and we rank them at the end of our ranking section. So bear with us. But first, a lot of big releases this week, and we need to know, Andrew, what have you been wearing this week, and how are you doing?
Very sleepy.
Very sleepy, yeah.
As usual.
That's fine. 7 a.m. It's allowed to be sleepy.
I've just been crashing after school every day. So I haven't gotten into these yet, but I'm going to be wearing these next.
Nice. I'm a big fan of those. Big fan. The more I wear them, the more I like them.
Yeah. It's very much seems like that'll be the case for me as well. I don't think I'll write a full review. I think I'll just do a comparison with the with these ones.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. A full review seems a bit much. Yeah, the upper is different, but the fit's pretty similar.
Yeah, the fit is similar. Obviously the tooling is the same. The insole, the multiple insoles is the same. You don't really need to mention that again. It is simply an upper swap, which does make a positive change in my view. It maybe doesn't need a full breakdown on the block there.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but we'll see.
Excited to give them a go anyway.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very much so.
Well, this week, in case anybody hasn't noticed, if you're a regular viewer and listener to the podcast, I may look slightly different. It's a different setting. I'm not in my studio. And that's because I am away this week. And yes, it doesn't matter. We're away. We continue to bring you the Football Boot Hour. So this is kind of like a portable setup, shall we say. And being away, I haven't really tested much this week. However, I did bring with me, this is the dedication, I still brought with me my Mad Ambition vapors. Now, I would have liked to have had the Bowerman and the Mad Ambition with me, the prototypes and the Mad Ambition, blueprints, whatever they are. But I could only bring, one pair. So I brought these, but we will get into these. So let's skip over those for the moment. And let's go into ranking. Let's see what we have to rank this week. And the first thing, I don't know if we rank this. I don't think we've ever ranked anything you couldn't buy before, but I think we should definitely mention it, that we got the Bon Mati Preds. So the burgundy and Volt and pink Preds, which I think are 75% amazing. And then put like this electricity color sole plate on it, which I don't really think was needed.
No, it's so close to being so good, and then like the little details they add, it's just like, why?
It's one of those where if they'd have gone down the Trent route with just the two colors, white and red, if this had just been like maroon and pink or burgundy and pink, whatever it is, and those had been the colors, I think this would have been really amazing. Now, they're not releasing anyway by the looks of things. They're just for her for the Olympics. Great to see. Probably talk about on another podcast another time how this has to tie back to kind of Nike cost cutting and things like that. The fact that they've literally let the 2 times consecutive Ballon d'Or winner leave the company and go to their biggest rival. That's madness.
In her first game in them, she got a goal and an assist.
A goal and an assist, and clutch goal as well. It makes no sense, but I think at some point we probably need to get into this Nike cost cutting. But that's today, maybe not. So I don't think we rank those, do we? Because I don't think we've ever ranked anything that wasn't available to buy before. We move on. So we'll move on to something which I think we both have thoughts on, which is the Puma Olympics pack, which is obviously this Puma Tricks Olympics pack. It's one pink boot, one kind of orangey yellow boot. Thoughts?
It's the same colorway again. It's so weird for Puma of all brands to just they released like the Euros colorways like way months in ahead, like
Mm.
February or March or something, right? They wore them. The players wore them through the end of the season. They wore them for the Euros and the Copa America, and then now for the Olympics, they're doing something different, but it's still the same colorways, so it doesn't even feel different.
Yeah.
And it's just so tiring at this point.
It feels lazy, or it feels like they've, I don't know, over ordered on some materials or dyes or something.
It really feels like they over ordered on dyes. They're like, we gotta use all this.
It's like, because yeah, so they had that pack that they literally wore towards the end of the season, the Forever Faster pack. That's what they wore towards the end of the season. Then they dropped the Copa America specific individual boots for Neymar and for Pulisic, and they were simply just a logo, like a little bit of design that had been added to the back of them. So there was nothing really there either.
Yep.
I think that makes it worse. I know those boots were supposed to feel like they were part of the Forever Faster pack, but by doing that, it makes doing this seem even worse by then having, it almost feels like it's
really
the
does.
fourth set of boots that are the same. And I also love a tricks pack. We spoke about it in the last episode. Like I'm a big fan.
Tricks packs are normally so good.
Yeah, and I just think this is, not only is it lazy and boring, I also think it's a bit of a lame tricks pack.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
So much they could have done here. So much they could have done, and they have failed. And
it's a bad pack for me.
Yeah, it's bad, no question. I think awful might be too harsh, but it's bad.
It's bad.
Yeah. We shall move along to another Euros pack, one that I think is the other end of the spectrum, and this is the Adidas Euros pack that I've forgotten the name of.
The Olympics pack?
Can't remember what it was called.
Yeah. I'm completely blanking on it.
It doesn't matter. And that, there's no Copa, which is interesting. But we do have the kind of white and multicolor F50, the white and kind of predominantly pink Pred. Again, no FT in the Pred either. But overall, there is the women's, the high cut as well. That's still in this pack.
Yeah, there is.
And overall, I think this is much better. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I love this. I really want to pick up a pair. Stellar Icon
That's
pack.
the one. That's the one. Because I kept thinking when I first, because I was kind of reading it wrong. I don't know. Like I was kind of like looking for some kind of like Stella McCartney link, because obviously she worked with Adidas a lot, but it's not. It's like Stella, not Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the sole plate on these F50s is fantastic.
Oh, it looks so good.
Like that is serious.
They've done such a good job with that. Yeah. They're so unique as well. My only mark against them is they probably could have made them more unique and maybe not used a white base. Maybe let the colors fully go through them.
I think that would have been amazing if they'd have really gone for it and just like run the colors all the way through the boot on both of them. Even if they'd have maybe flipped the pink and the white on the Predator or something, because the stripes are predominantly pink. If they'd have kind of swapped it and maybe had the pink base with the white stripes and then had like the yellow running through as the accents or something, like but I think overall they've done a great job with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're top tier for me.
Yeah,
I love that F50. So nice.
I don't think I love them as much as some people, but as soon as I saw the F50 sole plate, I was like sold. Like they're top tier now.
Yeah.
They're top tier now.
Yeah.
Like so good. Obviously we have had the Nike pack, but we will get to that. So we should probably get to the other big Adidas release of the week, which I don't know if it was kind of overshadowed or is a bit of a weird one because it kind of dropped. We knew it was coming, but the release date and the drop was kind of out of nowhere. It's just all of a sudden, boom, here it is. I don't know if releasing it so quickly to the Japan Blues or if it got released at the same time pretty much as the Olympics packs has kind of overshadowed the drop a bit, and it's kind of I don't think it dominated conversation very much outside of the individual day. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. That Predator it released, and then it was kind of like not talked about as much.
Like, I think it looks nice though.
Oh yeah, it looks awesome. That white sole plate matches up way better with that colorway than the blue.
Yeah, you can get away with this on that sole plate, whereas you can't get away with it with the
Hmm.
Japan blue. No, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's maybe a slightly odd release. I feel like they could have
Hmm.
done, like, they haven't done I'm pretty confident of this. They haven't done a Mania Lunar colorway release yet, have they?
Yeah, they should have done the
They should have just
lunar.
done the Lunar, surely. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
if they're gonna,
That would have. I think that would have done way better.
absolutely. I think we've spoken about this
Yeah.
before, and Trev Dunphy, friend of ours, has spoken about it before as well, about how the individual colors, like new colors that Adidas put out in remakes, never do as well as original re-release colors.
Original
Yeah,
colorways. Yeah, yeah,
and I think it would have been very easy to make this a Lunar remake, and it would have been the
yeah.
first one,
Oh
and it
yeah,
would have been a big
definitely.
deal.
I mean, they're still sold out anyways,
Yeah,
but
of
still,
course.
you know,
Well,
I think they could have just made it that bit more special.
absolutely. I absolutely agree. Where would you rank them?
Uh, I'll put them top.
You think top tier?
All white boot. Yeah,
Yeah.
all white boot for me is always going to be a win.
Yeah, there's something about it that I'm not like super hype about, but you look at it and you're like, you know what, that's gorgeous. So that's like
Yeah,
our
yeah.
ranking system is almost
When you're not
entirely.
looking at it directly, you kind of like forget how it looks a bit,
Yeah.
and then you realize like, oh, the colorway really shines through.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that's absolutely top tier. Um,
Nice.
we also have the Lotto, no, sorry, not Lotto, Diodora Elite Maximus, that
Yeah,
officially
and the
in
Roma
the Roma
colorway.
colorway, which,
Yeah,
like, how loud can you shout Totti without actually saying the word Totti?
Totti.
They have
Yeah,
made such a big deal out of, or like Italian legends and all this kind of stuff, and Roma colors, but they can't say Roma or Totti, but
yeah.
these look fantastic. These look amazing.
Oh, they look amazing. Yeah, I I really I feel like when they were developing these, they're like, surely we can get Toddy out of his Nike contract. And then the closer it came, they're like, all right, we're just gonna do this, I guess.
We're just gonna release it as it is.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that for me, well, we again, the podcast we did with Noah recently, where we ranked all the brands and all their
Hmm.
boots and things like that. Obviously, none of us had tried all the Diodoras.
Hmm.
Noah hadn't tried all the Diodoras, so we kind of did a lot of ranking based on looks, and they came out very favorably based on looks. And
Yeah, they did.
this is absolutely no different. These look amazing.
Hmm.
So,
They're so nice.
top tier.
Top
Yeah,
tier.
top tier.
Yeah.
Hey, weird. I feel like, obviously, aside from what has seemingly become our regular bashing of Puma, things have we've been very friendly today. A lot of top tier
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so next up, we of
It's the
course
tiredness
the
talking.
tiredness. You're tired. I'm tired. We're just, apparently we get less.
If we be if we're nice, then we can sleep better.
um, I just think my brain can't compute, like, putting together like really coherent negative arguments. So it just goes, you know what? They're not that bad. Just
Yeah.
be nice
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Puma boot, and then
Unless it's
all
Puma,
hell breaks loose. Um,
basically.
so we have only one pack left. I haven't missed anything. Actually, you know what we
Uh
should talk about, and not hasn't been released, but we'll definitely touch on it because I think it would be remiss of us not to. Are those Puma concepts that LJ shared? That
oh
they're around the
yeah.
place, but LJ collects. For anybody who doesn't follow him, go and follow LJ.
Yeah, go and
He had
check his stuff
he
out.
shared these videos with us, and obviously they're now on his story as well. And they're Puma concept boots for the Ultra, and I think there was one for the Future as well, wasn't there? But the Ultra one is like
Yep. Yep.
the main one,
Hmm.
and it essentially looks like they've put a high tech track spike kind of in, or a high tech running shoe, kind of in the realm of like an Alpha Fly type thing from Nike, and
Mhm.
stuck tooling on it. And they look
Mhm.
wild, super interesting.
They're super wild.
Like, do you reckon that could actually be a direction we go with boots?
Yeah, it kind of seems like it. I feel like, well, we saw with the F50, it's got the Light Strike Pro,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then these Pumas that LJ tried look like, I think for Puma it's like Nitro.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's something we'll see experimented with a bit more and more. Um, I guess in some ways, well, given when these boots would have been in gestation, you know, they probably didn't know. But Nike having their air pockets in them is kind of somewhat the same thing. Just I don't think executed as well.
Yeah, I think so. The way that I'm kind of viewing this is that so Nike have gone with the air pockets, and that's all well and good, and that works. But I feel like if you were to do a Nike equivalent, they would have to use that. Like, I'm not a running shoe expert, so please, like, if I get this wrong, you have to have to give me a break in the comments. But I'm pretty sure it's the Alpha Fly, like that Alpha Fly foam
Mm-hmm.
that they have. I feel like it'd be the equivalent of Nike using that instead of like the Air
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. That would be like
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like the comparison. I think it's really, really interesting. And I would have loved to have actually tried that just to see how it feels. Because I imagine in terms of boots feeling different, like the air pocket with the
Mm-hmm.
Zoom Air, it's just another element. It does make a bit of a change, but it's not drastic. You're still like, okay, this is a
Yeah.
fairly standard football boot. Whereas, like, I feel like that LJ showed, that's gonna feel so weird.
Yeah, yeah, those are going to be wild.
Yeah.
Because at first, when I saw him, I thought it was like, oh, he like the very first impression I was like, oh, he's testing a track spike, and then I was like,
Mm,
no, 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 he's on a football pitch.
yeah.
That's weird.
It's great to see. Like, I'm excited that that's a
Yeah.
thing that has happened, and I enjoy
Mm-hmm.
that. I kind of feel like there was a time, maybe around when they were doing crazy light boots, and you had that kind of those 10 game Puma SLs,
Evo
the
Speed
EvoSpeed
SLs.
SLs,
Yeah.
yeah, that Puma were doing mad stuff and pushing the boundaries, and so it was not everything hit, but they were at least a brand that was known for
Mm-hmm.
like really
Trying.
pushing boundaries, trying to be innovative.
Yeah.
And right now it feels like they're in the new Ultra Carbon kind of changes it a little bit, but they're in a bit of a rut. They're not really on top of their game. And one of the ways you
Mm-hmm.
can fix that, well, two ways. Obviously, you can release some better boots, which they seem to have done with the Ultra, but you can go for
Mm-hmm.
something that's eye catching, that's innovative, and kind of pushes boundaries. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that could be it. And if you look at the fact that they've already reintroduced the full carbon sole plate on the Ultra 5, they're maybe heading in the right direction, not to make the best possible boots, but to
Yeah.
definitely make boots that I'm going to buy.
Yeah. 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 I feel like that's maybe the goal is to probably get people to buy the boots first, and then hopefully they're nice enough boots to where people will stick with them.
Yeah, like it's a solid strategy, really. Like, how do you get somebody to not buy a Nike or an Adidas boot? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
have to offer them
Yeah.
something. You can't offer them the same thing but better because they don't care because it doesn't have the right logo. You have to offer
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
something that is either significantly cheaper or
Mm-hmm.
is significantly different. So you can be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm rocking this because it's so different and I want to try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't.
Yeah. I,
Sorry, go.
you put those on a shoe wall, they're going to be very noticeable. So that's like the first.
Exactly.
That's the first thing you need to get going.
Yeah, they get the marketing right, they could be flying.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I didn't want to dwell on them too long,
I hope
but
they
I think
do.
we
I
had
hope they
to.
do. We need to push boundaries.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of people messaged me kind of around this concept, and was this kind of the right thing to do? And conversations inevitably turned to Nike, and this thing that we constantly say, and you and I have said before on this podcast about them using the Superfly to do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it totally makes sense. They should. push boundaries. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Next generation tries something new.
Exactly.
But the fact that they're, I mean, at this point, I'd say completely unwilling to do anything.
I agree. Now,
Yeah.
as I casually mentioned Nike there, as if I'm segueing into something else, which I am, we need to do two things. We will start with the electric pack, which is the Nike Olympics pack. And then we will transition into the vapor specifically in both the electrics pack, the Mad Ambition, and the previous colorways that have released. This is 4 colorways that we've had so far. And there is something fairly drastic that we need to talk about. Firstly, you and I are going to have a disagreement about the ranking of the Nike pack. So this is the electric pack. It's a safari print and I believe cement color pack, safari print sole plate.
It's supposed to be somewhat based on the 2010 pack, so I think they're trying to have some purple shown through, but
interesting.
Absolutely zero of the pictures are showing any shade of purple.
Yeah, so I had a conversation this week with Chris Pottle about the color because I generally know, I generally am given the exact colors as to what these boots are. And I don't actually have the gray color for this particular colorway pack. I'm just assuming based on the pack, the colors and what it looks like, it's cement. But he was asking if it was the same as the gray pack that we just got. Which I can't remember the name of either. There's too many packs and too many stupid names. That's Atmosphere is the color of that. And I don't think it's the same, but it is remarkably close. And if they had managed to get that color to come through a little bit, it really would have looked the same.
Yeah.
But anyway, I really like this pack, and the more I look at it, the more I like it. And I am even to the point where I would be inclined to make this a top tier pack. And I know that you do not feel the same way.
No, I put it in the chat. Nobody responded, but I figured out what all the safari pattern reminds me of, and it reminds me of cat vomit.
What kind of vomit does your cat have? Like cat vomit?
I don't have a cat, but if a cat vomits, like after having a big meal, that looks like what a cat would vomit out.
That's not what my cat's vomit looks like.
It just, it's so, like if your cat got into something it wasn't supposed to.
So this is where we are at with the football boot hour this week. I am saying top tier. Andrew is saying cat vomit. So yeah,
it's terrible. It's so bad. I don't know. I mean, I guess for people who appreciate stuff like that, they really like it. I think it's god awful.
So I was gonna like. In case you haven't realized when you're watching this isn't live this week because I'm away. So what I was going to do is I was going to put this to the chat and let the chat decide what tier it went in because I knew Andrew and I were not going to come to close to any agreement on this. So in lieu of that, I will put it to the comments section. Could the comments section please? So our tiers are great, good, meh, bad, and awful. All you have to do is comment whichever one you want to put it in. I will take all of those comments. I'll take an average. And next week, the first thing we will do is put that boot where
drop it in,
where you, the viewer, has decided to put it. Because I am a big fan. And the only thing that I'm sad about is that since this new Mercurial has released, I've bought all 3 colorways and I can't afford to buy another one. So I can't actually really justify buying this one, despite the fact that I have actually sold my blackout has been sold, and I have negotiations on my Bauman prototype at the moment, so that might be gone soon.
I wish I had negotiations on my Bauman prototype. I'm trying to get rid of them so I can buy the next set of boots to review, and nothing's going.
If anybody's interested, Andrew is selling a US 8.5 pair of the prototype launch Mercurials used for a review only, still in tippy top condition. Get on that, people.
Very much a tippy top condition.
Yeah, he doesn't like them, but you might.
Yeah, exactly. I seem to be once again the lone dissenting voice.
And I do like them, and I like them more now as he segues again beautifully. So if I don't know how many of you have seen this, I obviously don't know how many of you follow my Instagram. I put up a reel this week. I also put multiple photos on my stories. I seem to have started somewhat of a discussion, or burnt the forest down, shall we say, because this boot here, my Mad Ambition Pack Mercurial, is undoubtedly, unquestionably a different shape to both the launch colorway and the blackout shadow pack Mercurials. One of mine and Andrew's biggest problems with this boot, probably my biggest problem, was that this heel was far too wide. It needed to be pinched in around the side. On the Mad Ambition pack, that has happened. Now, there is the conversation, or the conversation that was had, were they just made in different factories? No, these were made in China, as were the other two boots when they released. And it's not just the heel. The overall silhouette of the boot is also narrower. If you want to see the images of this, this is why I wanted to bring my other boots with me. I couldn't because, like I said, I'm away. If you want to see that, please go check out my Instagram, check out the reels. I have all the pictures side by side. You'll be able to see them. I'll put more on my story when this goes live. But this fits differently. I also had an issue with some excess material on the instep and some dead space under the heel. I still have under the arch. Sorry, I still have the dead space, but the excess material has basically gone. Andrew has his there, so if I just show you the heel, and Andrew shows you the heel on his,
Yeah, you can even just by like I didn't even need anything compared side to
no,
side.
you can just
see it. Like, look how much of the Air logo comes up
exactly
on the sides.
Yeah,
just looking at the heel versus that, it's a bit harder to see because it's pinched in.
Yeah,
it really doesn't make sense.
It is very different, and this fits me much better than the other boot. Now, there is obviously much to discuss with this happening. I also want to say that it is not just, for example, my boot and some kind of like anomaly or QC error issue. Everybody I spoke to or I was able to speak to has the Mad Ambition. It is the same, apart from one person, but I think that's just because he was comparing a much bigger size to a much smaller size. But anyway, so they're all the same. And not only that, to top it off, the Safari Pack, I now have 3 confirmations that the Safari Pack is the same as the Mad Ambition, which to me means
that's crazy.
To me means this is a change. We've had 2 colorways, the launch and the Shadow Pack, with the wider heel, the more material, and then immediately there is a change in shape that has happened. I am so confident of this, that this is a thing. It's not a one-off. It's not a quality control. This is a decision taken by Nike to make that amendment. So I am going to pass it over to you, Andrew, because obviously you have slightly better knowledge than me on the workings of how these things come about and why these things come about. Because I think, and I'm sure we think, as in you and I, that this is kind of insane. That it's happened after 2 boots, and these were all in production at fundamentally the same time. Like, they knew this was happening before it happened. So could you kind of explain this to people in terms that will kind of understand why this is so ridiculous?
So I've used this phrase before, and I don't know how widely it's used in the industry anymore, but they used to call it a running change. So
a ninja update, as it's called.
Yeah, like a ninja update. So as product is being released and some parts of it aren't being received well, they tweak stuff to make it better. Most famously, the Hypervenom 2 was a disaster of a launch, and they got to the 2.5 and brought back the original material, but with reinforcements this time, and it performed way better. So my guess is this is a running change. They had made the first 2 colors. They got early feedback, like really, really early feedback, like as soon as the boots were on feedback from probably not customers, probably from professionals who don't have custom lasts or anything, but get sent boots. and they immediately made the change. Or in the factory, even they noticed how wide the last was, and they immediately made a new last, which would have been really expensive. So if they've indeed started using a new last for the boot, then they made it a very expensive change to make things better. Which that's great. The fact they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, but the fact that it hasn't been announced or anything, none of the reviewers, like, bigger than us. I was about to say it in Japanese. I don't know why. None of the
Japanese school is
reviewers bigger
working.
than us. Yeah, I guess so. Are have really mentioned it, or kind of like alluded to it at all. Kind of really makes you think what's going on. Now, I want to come out and say this because several people have asked me, will I re-review because the fit is different now? And my answer is no, because the prototype, this is the one that they wanted people to try. They wanted testers to try. This is the one. If you have changed it, that's on them. That's not on me. I'm not going to go spend, this is, aside from my Pumas, this is the most expensive boot I've bought this year. I'm not going to go blow a bunch more money that I don't have, by the way, because I'm trying to sell crap, on just to check to see whether Nike fixed stuff. That's not on me. That's on Nike. It's, you could argue it's my job to do stuff like that, but I mean, I don't bring in the kind of money needed to start doing breakdowns like that. If y'all want me to, by all means, increase the amount of money I bring in. This is totally self-funded and funded because of donations and stuff, which I greatly appreciate, but I don't make that kind of donations to where I can go out and blow money on a new boot and then at the same time keep these in check. But yeah, it very much seems like they made a running change, and they made a conscious decision to, improve the fit on these. I would like to see, and because it would be more noticeable for someone like Noah. So I'd like to see how Noah feels once he gets those colors in his hand and hear what he has to say, since he's the one who has the widest feet out of almost any reviewer I know. And he would be the most affected by any potential changes.
Yeah, because Noah's the one out of all of us that essentially had very slim to no issues with the fit of the new Mercurial in the original launches.
Mm-hmm.
He was very happy with it. He was loving the boot. He was loving the fit. It was all working for him. And obviously, like, from his point of view, he's now put out like reviews and information saying that these boots are great for wide feet. So it would be very interesting to see from his point of view, like, has that changed? How that affects him, and or does that affect his recommendation for people to buy them if they have a wider foot? Now, I've not really worn these very much yet, so I'm still kind of working through that. But just putting them on, they no longer would be a boot that I'd be like, oh, if you have wide feet, you can wear the Mercurial. Like, I'm not saying that you can't. There's still a very soft material there. It's still got a lot of give. It's still a wider Mercurial, but in Mercurial terms. But it's not a boot that I'm going to start recommending for people with wide feet anymore. And if you're like, I've got wide feet, should I buy the Mercurial? I'm going to be a little bit like, maybe try the Phantom. Whereas before I'd have been like, you know what? Get them, put them on feet. Maybe they'll work for you. Whereas now I'm like, maybe not. You're very reliant on the amount of material rather than the shape of the boot. The boot shape isn't really doing it.
Yeah.
But the amount of material seems to be very, very similar. Go on.
You also mentioned that the insole board seems stiffer as well now.
Now I'm not sure if this is true, and I don't know if I was just kind of finding things. I'm having to hold my mic today because, again, I'm away and I don't have a spare hand. But it did feel like, especially initially, that I wasn't getting quite as much of a. We both spoke about it kind of just giving up at some point and lacking spring back. It just kind of felt like you still have to give up, but it's much further back, and then the spring back just felt stronger. Like, I get,
that just looks better,
right? It looks more effective.
Because this from here, it's not really
right. Whereas this really feels like it
And then
wants to spring.
your give up point is not much further along
Yeah.
from where you'd normally spring.
So again,
like obviously your foot's not going to
no,
do
it's
this,
not. No.
but the fact that but it does do this, and the give up point is like here.
Yeah. So
So
I definitely need to wear these some more to kind of establish that properly. But that it's another thing. I was at that point. You're looking right. Once you find a couple of things,
yeah.
you're really trying to dig in and everything. This
Yeah.
is a small thing, but definitely worth mentioning. The laces on this are far superior to what was on the other two colorways.
That's
The
so
the
wild.
laces on
These are
the laces on that prototype are terrible. The laces on the blackout shadow pack are equally as bad. The laces here, they're good laces. They're just what I would expect. Like, I'm not blown away by them, but they are noticeably better than the others, and they are just good laces. It's what I would expect to find on
you froze it up for
a top end
me,
Nike boot. Like,
Just give it a second.
it's kind of mad that we've reached just after two colorways. You know, two colorways, and you get this big, big change.
I don't get. Okay, and then you were saying that the insole feels the same.
The insole is the same, no question. Like that, I pulled the insoles out.
Why would you not change that?
Yeah, hold on, I get that out. That's identical. It's the same nonsense.
Yeah, and someone was mentioning how the F50 insole, the speed insole, is just really cheap, relatively compared to the comfort one.
It's better than
but
this.
Even this feels far more premium
Yeah.
than Nike's insole.
The F50 speed insole top coating, like the top material, the synthetic kind of suede-ish like material, is really nice.
Yeah, it feels premium. It feels like something you'd find on an expensive boot. I didn't mention this about the insole per se, but I mentioned this about the laces, where it felt like something you'd go and find like at a big box store. So like if you went to the kids section in like a Walmart or like a TK Maxx or something,
Yeah.
and you just need your kid one replacement laces, and you got something with sparkles on them, so you got these. Like, cool. The Egglets have got the Mercurial logo, but the rest of the lace is so cheap. Like,
yeah, it's the something that bugs me, and I'm sure your Mercurials would be the same. Something that bugs me about the insole, and it's such a minor thing, it doesn't affect performance, is that they've been ever so slightly glued in, and there's a sticky bit at the back and a sticky bit at the front to hold them in place, and it really annoys me. I'm like, why is that sticky? It's such a minor thing, but it really irks me.
I will tell you exactly why it's sticky.
Oh, go on.
Because it doesn't fit properly in the boot.
Right.
During testing, they must have figured that it slides around if you didn't put something sticky on the bottom of it. So I would argue, we brought up this point before, and you can kind of see it there.
Oh, yeah. Just
when
it doesn't,
it
you
down.
have to push it down into the back.
Yeah, but, even if you do it a little bit, oh, hey, look, there's that gap again.
Interestingly, obviously with the different shape, I don't know how well you can see that because I'm not in a very well lit place. I don't have that gap. Like, it's not there.
So, okay, so from that, we could probably say that we can probably infer that the insoles don't fit as well in the wider fitting ones, but they fit perfectly in the other ones.
Yeah. Speaking of the last, actually, you mentioned the last. They may have done a last change. Now, I know from various kind of pieces of information that I don't know if they have changed it for these ones, but the last that was announced to be used was the same last that was on the previous generation. So that was like what it was supposed to be. It was the previous generation's last. Now, I don't know if they've changed that or if they've done something else. Like you mentioned to me before, like when we were first trying to work this out, whether they just left the boots longer on the last and whether that's made an impact. Because it definitely does make an impact, of course. But could you leave, again, you might actually be able to answer this. If you left a boot for long enough on the last, could you make a change as, I don't want to say drastic, I don't want to make it out like they've changed the boot to an insane level, but could you make a change as as noticeable as this by simply leaving the boot on the last longer?
I feel like yes is the answer to that.
Okay.
So that seems Windows. Hey,
Hey, Windows, how you doing?
that's right. That seems like that probably seems more plausible than them doing a new last, especially given their cost cutting. So yeah, that's probably the answers. They've just decided to leave them on the last longer. Now, I've heard for the average, and I know this only because of Mizuno, and this is probably what Mizuno does for their elite model stuff, is the average time a shoe is left on a last is 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So maybe for just to get the production done, get the prototype boots out the window, is they just, the first two colorways is they just slapped them on the last, got them done as quickly as possible, and then got them out the door.
Yeah, see, that could be it as well. They could have been really under time pressure to get that first colorway out at the time they wanted it to come out.
The first two colorways.
First two colorways, yeah, and then from there it's okay because
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was going to say because they have to get so they're under time pressure for deadlines for the Olympic packs, for example. The Olympic pack has to come out at a certain time. The blackout, they want to come out as the second colorway because that seems to be obviously what they do. There must be some kind of retail marketing behind that you drop the blackout as soon as possible. Then you need your launch colorway, and they've already designed that because it's in a special box and all that kind of stuff. So there's at least time pressure on getting the first two out before the Olympics pack. So maybe they have gone for kind of a little bit of a rush on that, which is awful. Really, when you think about it, that we need to get these out as quickly as possible. And actually, I don't want to say it's an inferior product because for some people it's absolutely not going to be. For Noah, it's not an inferior product.
Yeah.
It's just not a consistent product. And it's not the product that it's meant to be.
Yeah.
I was wondering what date have you got for your manufacturer on yours there?
Mine says between 12/05/23 3/9/24.
Okay, so I have 12/6/23 and 27/2/24. So 27th of February 24 and the 6th of December 23.
Huh. So they finished manufacturing those before they finished manufacturing those.
That's mad, right?
That's super weird. Okay. I don't know quite how to read the UPC and stuff.
I used to have a list.
Factory code on this.
But I don't actually know. I used to have a list. Oh, interestingly, actually, speaking of factories, I don't know if this applies to all of them, but the one person I've spoken to who was able to give me the information, who has the safaris were made in Bosnia.
Huh.
So the first three colorways, all of which I've had, are China, but then the safaris are Bosnia, and they have the same kind of shape as these. Which makes
so I'm wondering if it's even a different factory.
So even though it's made in China, is it a different factory?
It's a different factory. Yeah.
I did have a list of how to read that UPC code at one point. I'll have to see if I can dig it out and I can work out exactly what it is. But yeah, it'd be interesting if maybe those first two have come out on in China, but a completely different factory. It's definitely not. Yeah. It's not within tolerance, though. Surely, the difference is so big
that's your quality control.
Yeah,
would catch this.
So I know, obviously, this happened, and we all had a little bit of a laugh and a joke about oh yeah, Nike quality control, but this can't be quality control, surely. Yeah. It's too extreme to be quality control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something weird's going on at Nike behind the scenes that I think I'm going to argue it's in relation to their cost cutting.
That was where I was going to go next. Is this Nike's cost cutting taking control a little bit? Has something happened with those original two colorways, those two runs, that may have necessitated either boots being changed or dumped or another run or something being done? and they've gone, okay, we can't do that. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
funds to be doing that. If anybody's unsure, Nike are going through an enormous cost cutting kind of phase at the moment. They're supposed to be. How much are they cost cutting?
But
Like,
not to the money to the board
yeah,
or their CEOs or their higher
yeah,
ups.
absolutely.
Everywhere else.
So
yeah, we haven't even mentioned the fact that they're cutting their sustainability team.
You're ahead of me. You are so ahead of me. Like, so this is, so I was going to go here. Cost cutting is essentially happening. Nike are looking to cost cut a huge amount over the next, is it 5 years? I don't have the figures with me. I did have the figures. If I was at home, I would have
$2 billion.
Is it 2 billion? So they're looking to cut $2 billion, but they're cutting it from, in some cases, the wrong areas. It's still got, the money's still going to the CEOs and etc. It's the classic, big business and banks and such, like the people at the top keep getting paid. And it's definitely having an impact on the product that they are producing. But the problem to start with, as to why they're having to make all of these cuts, is because the product that they're producing wasn't performing. They're starting to lose out in their, like, so Nike's heritage is running. This is, we talk football, but running is Nike's heritage, where they make most of their money.
It's a bread and butter.
Yeah, they've lost so much ground in the running market through failure to innovate. So despite the fact that Nike have like some of the most talked about shoes in the Alpha Fly and the Next and things like this, they have lost huge amounts of ground to other competitors. It's affecting the amount of money. And if you go and look at Nike's market share, Nike's stock price, over the last 12 months, you just see it do this. Like, it's on a down, and it's bad. Like, it's not just like this is a bad thing. It's really bad.
It's like it's them panicking. Go, how come line no go up like usual?
Line been going up since 1985, like this. Why go down now?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, do we want to move into the sustainability stuff?
I think we talk about it. Like, I think we're on the realm of, obviously, their cost cutting and why that's impacting the boots. So I think we have to talk about the sustainability a bit. I might make a standalone video on this for the channel, but I think
that's a good idea.
I think for sure we need to touch on it. So I'll let you take it away. Like, you were the one who gave me a lot of this information. Go for it.
Yeah. There was so I follow an independent outlet called ProPublica, and they did a huge story on how Nike basically is cutting their whole sustainability team. So, in conjunction with this, I was talking to someone, and I won't reveal my source, but somebody confirmed to me basically what's going on at Nike is their reasoning, really their excuse, is every part of the company will become sustainable now.
Yeah.
So
I saw
they
that.
don't need a sustainability team because they need every part of the company to become sustainable. But that argument goes away as soon as you realize they're cutting the people at the top of the sustainability chain. So the people who have been working on this, I think they said like 2014 or maybe earlier, the people who have been working on this for years, who have the most experience, the people you'd say, okay, we're cutting the team, but we want the whole company to start doing it. You need those people. And instead they're firing them.
Yeah. And those
they're
I was going to say, those same people have also been, like, those same people report that, like, when this team started, they were reporting directly to the CEO of Nike. And then they're also reporting, like, now they've gone, like, some of them are kind of talking here, bits and pieces here and there. People underneath them are saying, where originally they're reporting to the CEO of Nike directly. Then they were reporting to somebody reporting to the CEO. Then they were reporting to somebody to somebody to the CEO. Then they're reporting to somebody's assistant to somebody to somebody. It's just gradually been marginalized. And as this cost cutting has become more prevalent and necessary, it's come to the point where those roles have been eliminated entirely.
Yeah, and the fact that they were doing that kind of makes it seem like this was a long-term plan from the beginning, is to just get rid of it. So again, it's one of those, we're committed to sustainability, but we actually don't care.
Yeah.
It's greenwashing. 101. It's we want to look like we're a very green and progressive company when actually it's still about making the line go up.
Yeah, like we're a green company and we're all about environmental sustainability until it doesn't suit us, and then it's the absolute first thing to go.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, we spoke about Puma there, and obviously we're giving them a bit of a battering. Now, Nike called their original sustainability objective a moonshot. Because it's this crazy shoot for the moon idea, right? And the idea was that they would double sales, and I think while halving their environmental impact, right? That was the idea. Essentially, they have not come close. They're not even getting like
the opposite.
The opposite is happening. Their environmental impact is starting to increase,
go up. Yeah, it's been going up since like 2016.
Exactly. Yeah, 2016 is the year. You're absolutely right. But then Puma, on the other hand, have tried to do the same thing and have actually pretty much achieved it. I think Puma doubled their sales and their carbon emissions are down 33%.
Which is wild.
Yeah. So like Puma have achieved it, which maybe seems like they've actually put the time and the resources into it. Whereas Nike have gone, oh, we're going to do this, and then not spoken about it and just been like, oh, look at this new green thing and this new green thing and this new green thing. And I think, obviously, to bring it back around to boots a little bit, we then have to talk about Sakito. And we have to talk about how some of the technologies that I don't think we're leaking anything here. I'm pretty sure they've already announced this. In fact, I know I'm 99.9% sure they have. That their new boot, the Scudetta, is going to have an outsole made of castor beans. Something that we originally saw on the Nike Greenspeed, the GS, on the Greenspeed 1. And this was revolutionary. This is sustainability. This is the direction that we're moving. And then we never saw it again. It's literally like, here is the marketing. We are a green company. Look how green we are.
Yeah.
And then, nobody's talking about this anymore, so we're not going to worry about it. And you can't make the argument that it's not a sustainable practice. It's not, in terms of money, it's not something we can invest in. It's not actually helping the environment because of this, that, and the other. When a company the size of Sakito, who in grand terms are this big when compared to Nike, have managed to achieve it. Now, we don't know if the boots are any good. We haven't tried them. But based on Sakito's track record of what they've done so far, I am willing to bet. I am confident that they are at least going to be a good boot. Like, I'm not expecting to sit here and say they're going to be boot of the year or something, but I think they're going to be a good boot. And the fact that they're so environmentally sustainable, it would mean like the second that they were available, I would have bought a pair. Like, and they've actually done a good job.
Yeah, and it's so crazy that going back to the sole plate thing, like, okay, we're now 12 years removed from the original Greenspeed.
Yeah.
And that was probably in gestation since 2009. So you're not working with a relatively new technology. You're just working with a technology that another company didn't bother committing to the bid.
Yeah.
And I would argue the reason people stopped talking about it is because Nike stopped talking about it.
Absolutely.
They let it get swallowed up by everything else that was going on and just forgot about it.
Yeah, I think without question that's the case. If Nike had have driven it, then it would have been a thing. Now, similarly, you can argue one way or the other, and that's not what we're talking about today. We can argue one way or the other about whether switching from K leather to a synthetic leather is more environmentally sustainable or not. Again, that's a conversation we'll have for another topic, but that requires a lot of research. And we will literally need numbers. Like, we need to have this conversation. We need to be able to, like, this is how much carbon producing a leather boot is. This is your degradation, things like that. We need to have numbers before we can make that statement. But I know Nike doing the whole, like, save kangaroos thing at the same time, but they're also saying that this is more environmentally sustainable. If they truly believed that was the case, and if they truly believed that was important, they would have invested in it a long time ago because, and I've said it many times before, they had the material there. They had it on the CTR. It was right there. And if they'd have been developing it from that point onwards, well, what would we have now? We certainly wouldn't be dealing with Fly Touch Plus, which I think is a good material, but it's not a leather replacement material. But they could have been a leather replacement material, but the only reason they're not, in my opinion, is that they don't care.
There's this tension here, right? About what could have been.
Yeah.
What things have we missed out on because these brands couldn't commit to the bit? Like, now, I will say, I am putting this out there. The reason why Nike originally wanted rid of kangaroo leather was cost.
Yeah.
That was told to my face by several people at Nike.
Okay.
And Puma.
Right. So that's
several different people confirmed to me the reason why they wanted to get rid of leather was cost. Not because of being environmentally friendly, but because of cost. Now, on the one hand, you can argue that kangaroo leather degrades faster once you're putting it in a landfill. 100%. That's fine. And maybe they could have come out and said, like, you know, the synthetics we were looking at wouldn't have done the same. But, you know, then they would have said that. But they didn't say that.
Yeah.
Everything that was told to me, you know, more than a decade ago was about cost. So, again, these companies looking to be green, it still seems like it's about line going up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we're being environmentally friendly because we're trying to get ahead of the curve, because at some point governments will force them to do so. If not the U.S. government, governments in Europe are normally pretty ahead of the curve when it comes to saying, like, you need to be so environmentally friendly for stuff.
Yeah, I feel like Nike used the I know it didn't pass, but the Oregon kind of, I don't know what the right term is, law bill that was proposed to ban kangaroo leather in the state, which is obviously where Nike are based. They used that as their jumping off point to then take it away. And so then kind of if you look at it on the surface level and you just look at the marketing, Nike have said, we're being environmentally friendly. Fine. If you then dig a little bit, you see, so what was actually happening was the state was going to ban it, and Nike have reacted and got ahead of that curve, which is why they're really getting rid of it. But then if you actually dig a little bit deeper, what you discover is, I would think, I'm speculating obviously hugely here, is that Nike have seen the Oregon thing, like, and the potential bill, and gone, oh, hold on a second, this is actually a really good excuse to get rid of kangaroo leather because that's going to save us money.
Yeah. And there is a lot of alternatives to leather being developed right now, but none of them are being developed by big companies. So, ergo, if you wanted to use, like, cactus leather is the one I've heard people bring up a lot. If you want to use something like that, you're then paying a fee to another company. Whereas with Nike, they prefer to do stuff in-house. They don't often shop around for technology like some of the other brands do. And the reason why is it's cheaper.
Yeah. Develop it once, use it for 10 years. Every boot gets cheaper every time you make it.
Yeah, exactly. So my guess, again, speculation, is they looked at these alternative materials and said, no way, this is going to cost too much.
And then
it's not about being environmentally friendly. It's about the money.
Yeah. And then again, like, I know obviously it has turned out great, but if we're being cynical, which, you know, let's be honest, right now we're probably being a bit cynical. You look at why the grip knit is on the Mercurial. Is the grip knit on the Mercurial because it's the best possible material? Possibly, because it is fantastic. It is the best thing about this boot. But you could still make an argument that they've done it because it's a good way of bringing that initial cost of grip knit that they, obviously the investment they made is a good way of bringing that cost down very quickly by putting it on another boot, by using the same technology.
You want to spread your costs. You want to spread your costs across as many products as possible.
Like, there was also, what was there was, again, I don't know the stats. I didn't kind of plan to have this, but the percentage that Nike have cut from their sustainability team far outweighs the percentage they've cut from any other team. So say like if they've cut
It
80,
was like more than 30%, I think.
right, yeah. So they've cut say 30% of their sustainability team. When on average across the company, with all of these cuts they're making from these 2 billion, which by the way are majority in people. So if you're wondering where these 2 billion in cuts are coming from, it's majority people, and they're putting a large amount into redundancy packages to be able to move people on. That's why these cuts are coming over 3 years, because after 3 years, all of these cuts will be done. They'll no longer be paying out the salaries.
Yeah,
They'll be
yeah,
seeing the rewards. But so 30% minimum of the sustainability team is going along with everybody at a high level, pretty much. Like the core sustainability team of like, is it 12 people have all gone. Whereas the average, say, across the company that's going from different areas is about like 5%. So the
yeah,
impact that they're taking out the sustainability team is so much higher, and that has to surely show that part of the reason is that it's one of their lowest priorities.
yeah. And I'd also argue Nike has a history of overspending when it's not needed. So my guess is they overly funded this part of the company, and when it didn't reap the exact rewards they were expecting, it was the one that was going to get hardest cut.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think I mentioned this before. Like, Nike used to sponsor a local international tournament in Dallas. And the first year they sponsored, they spent $100,000 getting a setup in
Okay.
and building this huge building at the fields where you could try them. You could rent out boots, and then you could buy the boots afterwards. And then the next year, it was way slimmed down. And they're like, well, that was too expensive. And then after a few years, they stopped sponsoring. And they're like, it just cost too much money to sponsor the tournament. But nobody asked you to spend $100,000 shipping something from Chicago to Dallas.
Yeah. Ironically, if they'd have operated more sustainably themselves, they would have been fine.
They could have done it in such an easier way. Just set up a small booth inside the stadium and said, like, come here to try stuff out. Then you could have driven people to the stadium to buy more stuff. But no, they had to have their own individual thing away from everything else.
Yeah.
And, a lot of, I could go on about like how much money they put into doing stuff for that tournament and how it didn't work out.
But
like a lot of product having to end up in local closeout stores and stuff like that. Like, that's insane. But again, Nike overspending their initial, they get excited about something, throw a ton of money at it, and then eventually they're like, oh, we should have thrown so much money at it.
Well, like in that instance, like if you stick 20K into it over 5 years, like $20,000 is still a lot of money to be sponsoring a local tournament. And you could have done it for 5 years rather than splurging $100,000 and needing $100,000 return in a single year. Like, it does. I know you got to like speculate to accumulate and all that jazz, but $100,000 for a local tournament seems like a lot to expect to get a return on investment.
It's a big tournament, but that wasn't sponsorship money. That wasn't even the product. That was just $100,000 just to build this little like pop-up.
The pop-up. Damn. Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't account for all the staff they brought around from different areas of the U.S. and one of the staff they brought in from England. Nobody asked you to do any of that.
Yeah, but Nike had to be Nike.
Yeah, and I think it's the same thing with their sustainability stuff. Is nobody asked you to go this crazy. I'd argue, yes, you had to go this crazy, but nobody asked you to put so much money on it to where the first thing on the chopping block was the very thing you put the most money in.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that. It's not, funnily enough, sustainable.
Exactly. Like, they have to operate sustainably in order to be able to put that money in and continue. It's more important that they continue their sustainability work than it is that they stick $1 billion into it in like, I don't know the numbers, but you stick $1 billion into it for the first 10 years and then decide, oh, actually, we're going to do nothing for the next 20 years because that costs too much money. Like, you're better off continuing to be sustainable than just like splurge a load on it and then have to cut everything. But again, it's mindset. They think that they can get away with that because they're now seen as being green. And people, and this particular thing that we're talking about, like, I don't know how many people know that. Like, how many people are going to know that that particular like kind of departments being cut? How many people know that Nike's stock price essentially is in free fall? Like, so if anybody's wondering why we're talking about this today on the podcast, this is why. It all just links back to what we're saying about the boots, which is this whole idea that Nike is doing this, and the reason they're doing it is because they just don't have the funds anymore. Well, they don't seem to have the funds anyway.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Sorry, this has kind of been all over the place, but it was a topic we really wanted to cover. So thanks for watching. You can find me at Lockhart Boot Blog on Instagram, or just go to my website, Lockhart Boot Blog. You can find Boot Wizard Boot Reviews on Instagram, or on this very channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. We would love to get to a bigger audience and get more people in, especially when we normally do our lives. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it.